I like to eat. I mean, I really like to eat. Now, I don't eat meat anymore by choice, but for years and years and years, I loved my bacon, I loved my chicken, I loved my turkey, the turkey drum legs you can get from Knott's Berry Farm, all that, delicious. Wasn't really big on things like beef or pork ribs, but I did enjoy a good burger from time to time. As time went on and I got more active in track and field and cross country, I realized that it didn't really set well with my body. But till this day, because track and field was a long, long time ago, but to this day, I still love to eat. I eliminated the meat, I eliminated the dairy with great results in banishing allergies. My allergies were so bad that I would have puffy eyes and snot like Roscoe in my nose all the time. It was just horrible. I eliminated those things. And before I eliminated the dairy, though, I was sick a lot. I mean a lot. And those of you out there who know me have heard my story. I looked horrible. I felt horrible. I mean, I looked so bad that I didn't want to go outside. And let's see. Throughout the day, like maybe starting after breakfast and on, I would break out with these pustules on my chin, and then later on it turned into dark marks all on my neck and my chest that just would not go away. Now the breakouts on my chin, by the end of the day, they would kind of dry up. They wouldn't be all blistery and pus looking, and I would begin to have hope. But the next day, it started all over again. I could not get rid of this crap. So to make a long story kind of short, I would go get a lot of facials. I went to this place in LA called Skin Essence. It was in Inglewood. Great place. And this African dude would give me my facials, my peels, and he would have my skin looking on point, right? 2 weeks later, I'm back for the same thing. I'm looking horrible. This went on for months and months and months. And when I would go out, I would just cake makeup on my face. Just cake it on. It was awful. It felt badly. It probably looked crazy. But in my opinion, it was better than all the marks and pus-filled bumps on my face. So after months of going to Skin Essence, he finally says to me, "Kia, I think it must be something that you're eating." I know my African accent is horrible. Don't judge me, please. I know it was trash. But he said, "Kia, it must be something that you're eating." And even after that, I went for months without knowing what the crap is going on. I went to doctor after doctor. I think I went to 3 doctors who could not tell me why my skin was acting this way and why I felt sluggish. But each of those doctors prescribed me medication. One of the medications made the whites of my eyes yellow and my lips black. And after that, I think I took the prescriptions, but I never got any more medication because I was just done. Dear good friend of mine said, "Why don't you go to this holistic doctor down in Santa Monica, blah, 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 blah." Unfortunately, I don't remember the name of the doctor. Don't know if they are even still there. But I remember on October 31st, it was Halloween. I had on orange and black striped socks that came up to my knees, probably some shorts because that's how I walked back then. I've always been a big fan of Halloween. That was my day that I had the appointment with the doctor. I was there for maybe 2 hours. A lot of the time was waiting, unfortunately, and talking to the front desk receptionist. But when I met with the doctor, he had me hold a copper rod in my hand. Just hold it. And all these things came up on the screen. Information telling him what was going on inside my body. I don't know if it's called biofeedback. If there's anybody out there who does know the name of it, feel free to post it below because it's something, I don't know who else might be going through things like this, but anywho. So he said, "Well, it looks like here you might have an issue with gluten. It looks like you might also not be able to tolerate tomatoes." And he said, "Also be aware that coffee has a reaction in the body like gluten as well." So I'm like, what the crap is gluten? I don't know. Well, and he gave me a little pamphlet, and I looked some things up, and all I knew is that it was in bread. So I was kind of scared, but I was a little hopeful because somebody was able to tell me, whether he was wrong or right, at least give me an answer to whatever had been plaguing me for months. I wasn't really outgoing anymore, and I'm very outgoing. I just felt horrible. So I started doing a little bit of research myself, and it is ridiculous how many different foods, prepared foods, gluten is in. Stuff like candy bars, things that should not have any gluten in it, has gluten in. Gluten is a protein found in like flour, wheat flour, still in refined white flour, unless you're going to get gluten-free flours, which I'll probably detail in another video. So I'm like, well, what the crap can I eat? Because I love bread for one, and everything else is mostly of convenience. A lot of processed foods. I did like fruit, and and even though I had stopped eating meat, doesn't mean that I was eating healthy, for me, just for my body. So for a while, I'm just going around eating raw vegetables, and I got so gaunt, even smaller than I am now. And anywho, all that other stuff came with time. I figured out what I could eat that contained gluten, and what I also learned is you have to be very careful because even some products, at least back then in the early to mid 2000s, even though they said they were gluten free, processed in the same factory on the same equipment as foods that contain gluten. And one New Year's Eve, I had, I'm not going to say the name of the company because I think since then they've brushed up their preparation of the food, and I haven't had a problem since. But I ate one of their prepackaged meals, and when it was time for me to go out, I couldn't stand up. Cramped so bad in my stomach, I literally could not stand up. So I went, my New Year's Eve plans were dashed. The next business day, I called the office, and I spoke with someone. I also left a message, and after that, they sent me a whole bunch of coupons, and I'm like, what are you guys trying to do, finish the job? So I didn't eat any of their things for a long while. But anywho, they've since brushed up on it. I still have to be careful because some things, unless it says certified gluten-free, it's really just best if you are gluten intolerant or if you know that you have celiac, which I do, it's really just best to stay away from anything that could have gluten in it, even if it's gluten-free oats, because a lot of times there's cross-contamination. Now, I know this video has been all over the world, and and I haven't gotten to my point. So fast forward, today's holiday party at work. A few things were made to accommodate me and maybe one or two other people, and long story short, I asked for a wrap, gluten-free, vegan, and when it came, it was just wrapped up, no particular labeling on it, and there were about 4 or 5 wraps that came. I can't guarantee that everyone's was gluten-free, and when I opened it, it looked like a flour tortilla. Now, even though the receipt said all the wraps were gluten-free, I just couldn't chance it. The worst, lots of things have happened to me. I've been sick for months. The worst thing is I basically, after feeling like my whole body was being stuck with thousands of needles, I passed out and had to be rushed to the hospital, had to get a catheter. I couldn't move anything. I couldn't even open my eyes. The only thing I was able to do, thank God, was move my mouth and say, I'm allergic to penicillin, because I didn't know what they were going to do, to me. So I'm laying on the gurney. Well, I'm in the hospital bed, and my head is to the side. I cannot move my head to the front. I cannot open my eyes. That gluten had basically shut my body down, and I know it was only my angels that let me open up my mouth. I'm allergic to penicillin. So I told them that. So I did not eat the wrap that my job ordered for me today because there was really no way of telling, and I've been doing so very well these last few years. I don't want to have any setbacks. That brings me to something else. My beloved boyfriend wants me to go to a family dinner of his best friends, and they asked if they could cook something just for me. And I feel very badly. I feel badly about bringing a whole gourmet spread to someone else's house, for one. I feel badly also for not entrusting them to make things that I can totally eat. I don't know what the cross-contamination might be. I don't know if there's any gluten residue left in your pot. If you have children, I cannot necessarily know that there's not going to be some inadvertent contamination. Those are just things I cannot chance. And it's very frustrating sometimes because I appreciate people wanting to accommodate me, but it's frustrating when I cannot accept their hospitality. I cannot accept what they've gone out of the way to get for me without certain things. And I certainly don't want to go to anyone else's home for the first time and stand over their shoulder saying, I can have this, this, and this. So if there's anybody out there with any food intolerances, food allergies, and actually celiac is a, what is it called? Shoot, I can't think of what it's called. So it's not an allergy. It is an autoimmune disorder. It's an autoimmune disorder. So the EpiPen doesn't work for it. If I have a little bit, I might be able to take a Benadryl and be okay, but it would just mask the symptoms. It doesn't mean that it's not affecting my intestine, which the ingestion of gluten does. There were months I looked like I was pregnant because my intestines were so swollen and distended. And when I turned on my side, it was painful because everything, all of my stomach, all the meat, all my organs would just go to the side because everything was so inflamed. So if you're out there and you don't have food intolerances, if you can just look at this and become a little more sensitive, we are not trying to be pains in the butts. I'm not trying to be bougie and looking down because I would love to be able to go to your house and eat up every goddamn thing you got on that table. But I cannot. If anyone has any suggestions on what to say to a host who might want to prepare something for you, but you know you cannot partake, please put it below because I never want to be rude. And the silver lining of the story is because I knew something like this might happen. I just cooked last night and brought my lunch. So I'm going to eat that now because I am starving. And anybody out there who has people with celiac or some other disorders in your family, please be patient. Please be as accommodating as you can. And please know it is not a joke. It is not a joke. I've read very, very, very inconsiderate things that people have subjected family members to because they think crap is a joke. Now, I do know that for some people it is a fad. Oh, I need this gluten-free, need that gluten-free, because it's a fad. But that does not mean that there aren't many of us who will suffer greatly. And if a friend of mine, her great aunt passed when she was diagnosed with celiac because she could not give up the cake. She could not give up the cookies. She was old. So she was old school, and I guess she said she had to die of something. It can cause intestinal cancer, y'all. So we are not just being pains in the butts. I want to say the other word, but I don't know if YouTube will let me post this if I could say bad words. But please, just keep it in mind, and I hope to continue to spread awareness. And that's it. I'm going to heat up the food that I brought from home. See y'all later. Love you. Bye.